Hi, Brenda and Craig from Roaming and Recording here, and we got an update, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do. We had an issue that we wanted to talk to you about, and it concerns our transatlantic cruise that we just went on.
In case you are new to the channel or didn't get to see that video, it's going to be right up here. And basically, in a nutshell, we were canceled on a transatlantic flight from Barcelona to Cincinnati, and they didn't even bother to let us know. We had to find out like within a month of us leaving. And we had to scramble. And so there's a lot of really great information in that video. So check that out if you haven't already.
Right.
But let's discuss what happened after we got back and also while we were at the airport.
Yeah, so luckily Brenda was checking the flights on a continuous basis to make sure they were still there, no changes, anything like that. And so she just sort of happened to notice maybe a month before, maybe less, that our original flight was canceled. So we had to do something pretty quick to rectify that.
And we did get it rebooked, and we did have to go to the airport and to get our seats because unfortunately they had downgraded us. So again, the video explains a lot more about it. But let's talk about our experience when we got to Barcelona. Because we were downgraded, it was pretty miserable. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, it was a full flight, I'm pretty sure, and it seems like Delta has a new class or a new way of boarding people now, which I wasn't really familiar with. But we were given a basic standard, I think it was.
Yeah, and that's not what we had originally booked, so.
Right. Yeah, so that's about the lowest you can get. I think it is the lowest you can get. So there was us, I think another couple, maybe a couple more people. And we had to wait till everybody else was boarded, and then they boarded us.
And it's not even that we had to wait. It's that they kept going, you get back, you get back. And they kept pushing, you're basic. They would say, you're basic, and pushing us back.
Yeah.
Like we were, I don't know, like we were dirt or something. It was really embarrassing.
Yeah,
and, really frustrating. Now, like I said, we had been proactive, so we did get our seats ahead of time, but we weren't supposed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been absolutely miserable if we had truly been in basic, and we would have been sitting in a middle row for transatlantic with people we don't know.
Yeah, that was a 10-hour flight. So we did, as you see in the video that we did before, we did go down to the Dayton airport, our local airport here, and we went to the ticket counter, and we made sure we got seats. And they seemed reluctant to do it, but we were pretty insistent. And we had seats before, so we were pretty lucky to get seats again. And they were just two seats by each other, so that worked out real well.
Yeah, and the overall flight was good. Once we got on there and got our seats, it was good. The food was decent. I'm real short, so I don't have a problem with leg room. So it wasn't a miserable flight. And we got home. That's the main thing.
Right.
So then we got home, and if you remember, we had booked this through Air France, and so the EU Passenger Bill of Rights is supposed to kick in. So that means if you are canceled a flight or downgraded, you're supposed to get compensation. We had reached out to Air France prior, and they had given us the info. What I want to especially show today is that your EU Passenger Bill of Rights covers several different things. The one that would cover us is where it says if your flight departs from the EU to a non-EU country operated by an EU or a non-EU airline, which would cover Delta. When we got back, the first thing I did is I got on chat. I'm a big believer in getting on chat when you have an issue, because then you have a printout of it and you can have that thread. Documentation is really huge on anything that you're doing in travel.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Air France, first thing they said was, oh, well, you have to go to Delta. That kind of scared me because I thought, oh no, Delta's not an EU carrier, and I wasn't sure that it would apply, but it does. But Craig took over Delta. I had a work engagement, and so he was great. He got on chat with Delta, and then what happened?
Yeah, I was, first of all, I was surprised that Air France, our flight was canceled, just basically said it's Delta's problem, it's not ours. So, okay, so I go out to Delta, and you can find, I just Googled Delta claims, and you can find it pretty easily. So there's a claim out there, and I submitted our hotel accommodations that we had to stay. because like we said in the other video, that we couldn't get convenient times on other flights. It was either too early, we couldn't get from the port to the airport in time, or it's just too late. So we decided to stay over. So that's what I submitted to Delta. Their form is pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. You just basically say your flight number, what the problem was, and then you attach your bills for that. So that's what I did for Delta. And they gave me a claim number, which was great. And it's just something I do. I go out there and I check the status of the claim like
5 minutes later.
5 minutes after, just to make sure, I know how to do it and it's out there for sure. So I swear it wasn't a half hour and they rejected our claim already, which I didn't know why. They really, when they say they rejected it, or they close it, I think is what they call it. They don't really give you an explanation. So that's when I went on the delta.com and I went into the chat room there and started talking to somebody there. Mm-hmm.
So the other thing to say is that according to the EU 216, which is the Passenger Bill of Rights, we were entitled to either money back for a downgraded flight. We were okay with that. We did get our seats. We had to be proactive on that. But we were certainly entitled to hotel and meals.
Right. So I went on the chat and I talked to a couple people on there. They kind of passed me on and on. If I think they said they just had to go to the supervisor, which I ended up with a supervisor. I was on the chat for about an hour, a little more than an hour, because they're pretty slow. I mean, I write my comments and then they sort of take their time and I guess they're talking about, I don't know what they're doing. And then they respond to me. So it was over an hour and I was just about ready to give up. And then, so I wrote a note saying, it's been over an hour. If you can do anything for us, great. Otherwise, that's fine. So, but I saw the agent was typing. So I gave it one more minute. And then she comes on and basically says, we've approved your reimbursement. So I was really happy with that.
So basically we got a $477 hotel paid in full.
Yeah.
And so we're happy with that. Could we have gotten more? Maybe you could have, argued with the downgrade, but other than the rudeness of the staff on boarding the plane, we did get our seats. We got back to our home safe and sound. So we're pretty happy. We consider this a big win. And it just goes to show you that, you need to be proactive. You just can't let them close something because you do have rights. And even, like I said, even if you're not on an EU flight, if it's from the EU to there, especially if you booked it like through Air France, it falls under that. And then I do know that in travel news that the US is going to be doing something like that, I believe maybe next year or something like that. It's coming up. So they're going to have better Bill of Rights as well, so that you just can't get bumped off. But I do want to say one thing, Craig. Why did they tell you our flight was canceled? Because I found that super interesting.
When they tell us it was canceled?
Yeah. Basically, they said that they could do schedule changes whenever.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of strange. They when they approved the reimbursement, they're saying, business fluctuations and demand makes us, causes us to make decisions like to reschedule, reroute planes like that. But we're going to make an exception for you and we're going to give this to you, this reimbursement. I said, that's not outside of your control. I didn't say this, but I was thinking that's not outside your control. That's why if you make a business decision, you need to reimburse the people who have been hurt by it. So I let it go because she said, we're going to pay you.
Yeah.
But she made it sound like we're being nice guys by paying you. So I don't know. We'll let that go. We'll see if that's the excuse they use next time, if there is a next time.
Well, and the other thing that is within their control, which they did not do, and which is in the EU Bill of Rights, is they have to tell you when your flight is canceled, right? And they have to, when you go for, compensation, or, if they're going to deny it, they have to prove that they did it. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of interesting. So I will leave that down below so that you can kind of look those things over and see what your rights are. But no matter what carrier you're on, I think it's really good to look at that. And if you do have an issue with a flight, you know, they're not going to do it because of weather or mechanical reasons or something like that. But if you do have a flight and it's willy-nilly canceled for no reason, and you know, especially if they haven't contacted you and rebooked you and make it right, you certainly should be proactive, and you certainly should not give up easily. I think for an hour of time, $477 is a pretty good return, and we loved Barcelona, so that was really great.
Yeah, that was an added bonus. I'm glad we were able to go and visit Barcelona, because we had scheduled just to leave right after the cruise. But we were able to go to Barcelona, so we had a good time. So it worked out well. But they still owed us compensation because they did cancel our flight. And we were out. We wouldn't have incurred that hotel cost if not for their change in the schedule.
And we'll have a video here of our trip in Barcelona. We have posted a few on the Azores, and one from Cadiz is coming up here soon. So we hope that you'll check those out. We hope that you'll give us a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing if you want to see where we're going and get some travel inspiration for your next trip. Thanks.
Okay. See you later. Bye.